Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to the final session in Certified in Cybersecurity. The today topic is security operations. So today topic security operations, from overall weightage it covers 18%. So 18 questions you may expect from this lesson. This domain covers mostly cryptography, end user education, social engineering, security policies, and few more topics. So we will cover the full domain with real-time examples. Start with the cryptography. As you all from engineering, most of them from engineering background, you might have dedicated subject in cryptography. So I no need to explain what is encryption or decryption, but just looking at this image, when plain input is given, that input transformed into encrypted text so that no one in the transit or at rest cannot read the data. So using keys, key needs to be used to encrypt. The same key can be used to decrypt. So the encryption and decryption used to transfer the data in a secure manner. But come to our security principles, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Encryption supports confidentiality so that unauthorized person or the data in the middle no one can access. So we need to maintain the confidentiality. We are using cryptography. If you take any platform, any online banking system, all are using encryption. If you take WhatsApp is one step ahead. They are using end-to-end encryption. If you take Facebook or any other online web pages, they also use encryption. So here, when you use same key for encryption and decryption, which is called symmetric. In real time, imagine you have a jewel box. You put a lock. The lock has a key. Now you send that jewel box to someone else and sending that key along, then they can use that key to open the box and get the jewel. So here the encryption and decryption, I mean locking the data, unlocking the data, happening using same key. That is called a symmetric encryption. So before go to symmetric encryption deeper, we'll talk about little bit more about encryption. So when plain text transformed into encrypted text, the text is not usable or human not readable. That's what you are seeing on the screen. When you open any encrypted file using any notepad or wordpad or any other file viewer, you will see just a junk or a cipher text which cannot be read by human or the data cannot be useful. That's where the encryption plays major role in securing the data. So as I said, we have symmetric encryption and asymmetric encryption. Symmetric encryption will go with the short local example. Siva and Priya both are friends. Now using symmetric encryption, Siva and Priya agree on encryption algorithm to be used. Let's say I use RSA, you also use RSA in algorithm standpoint. Siva and Priya agree on a key to be used in encryption and decryption. So now Siva and Priya should use same key to encrypt and decrypt. So Shiva will use the key to encrypt the data and Priya will decrypt the data using the same key. So the key must be transferred from Siva to Priya. The data must be transferred from Siva to Priya. So first data will flow, then Siva and Priya should share the key with each other, then they can use the same key to unlock the data. If you look at this example more closely, it's one-on-one. Siva and Priya one-on-one. So it's not a big problem. Only one key is needed. Siva will use the same key to encrypt. Priya will use the same key to decrypt. Simple. But this become a challenge when the guy the trainer, Ismail, come in the picture. Siva and Priya, both are one-on-one. They use only one key. But when you add third person now Siva wants to talk to Priya as well as Ismail. Now Siva need two keys. Same goes to Ismail. Ismail wants to talk to Siva and Priya. Ismail need one key for Siva, another key for Priya. Same again go for Priya. Priya will use the key with Siva to encrypt the data when send the data to Siva. When Priya communicate anything to Ismail, Priya should use another key to encrypt and send the data so that Ismail can decrypt. So you look at this complexity. The symmetric encryption brings complexity when adding more people. We'll go deeper. There is a formula to identify how many keys we need to support 10,000 employees in the organization. Let's say consider you have 10,000 employees in your company. You need to protect their communication one among one another. When they communicate among all the 10,000 employees, they must use symmetric encryption. Now when they use symmetric encryption, if you look at this formula, number of persons 10,000 employees, if you apply n into n minus 1 by 2 formula, you need 50 million encryption keys. That is very huge. This is the primary challenge with symmetric encryption. Hope you are able to follow. Now I come to this simple example, the pictorial example. Three guys, Siva, Priya and Ismail. I put these three as a n in the person in the formula, n equal 3. If you look at n into n minus 1 by 2 formula, 3 into 2 by divided by 2, 6 by 2, 3 keys required. That's what we are seeing. So between Siva and Priya one key, Siva and Ismail another key, between Ismail and Priya the third key. So 3 key required if 3 persons communicating. But when it comes to 10,000 employees, the formula will go away and it reaches 50 million encryption keys, which is huge and which may not be scalable. That's why symmetric encryption you may not see widely used in many of the applications. It may be used in some specific scenarios like one-on-one communications. If you like to use same key to encrypt and decrypt, then you may need fast process, because symmetric encryption is always fast because you are using same key to encrypt and decrypt. Plain text encrypted, send that encrypted text to the receiver. Receiver use the same key and decrypt. Simple, right? So for that, the process would be much faster. So symmetric encryption is so fast. So what I told you, symmetric encryption requires large amount of keys when persons increase in the group. Second, symmetric encryption is so fast. Next, come to asymmetric encryption. Asymmetric encryption uses public and private key. Each person in the company should have 2 keys. One is private, another one is public. We'll come to this example. Siva and Priya. Siva has private key as well as public key. Siva has 2 keys. Same goes to Priya. Priya also have 2 keys, private and public key. Siva will broadcast his public key to everyone, include Priya. Priya will broadcast her public key to everyone, include Siva. So now Siva is aware Priya's public key, Priya is aware about Siva's public key. But these 2 guys keep their private key secret. They will not share that private key with anyone. They keep it secret with themselves. Now Siva wants to talk to Priya in an encrypted way. What Siva will do? Siva takes Priya's public key, encrypt the plain text, send that encrypted text to Priya. Only Priya can decrypt using Priya's own private key. If you take in reverse order this side, now Priya wants to send data to Siva. Priya takes Siva's public key, encrypt the data, send it to Siva. Siva should decrypt using Siva's private key. So the overall communication happens here in encrypted form, safe and secure, but they use private and public key concept. The same key is not used to encrypt and decrypt. That's why it is called asymmetric encryption. Hope you are able to follow this as well. This is very basic, symmetric and asymmetric. Now we'll add more complexity here as well. Now the third person, Ismail, is joining the group. Now all three guys having two keys, private key, public key. Siva broadcasted his public key with Priya and Ismail. Ismail did the same thing with Siva and Priya. Priya also broadcasted her public key with Ismail and Siva. So all three, if they start communicating, they use others' public key to encrypt and send it. The recipients use their private key to decrypt. So that way, the communication is secure, and we are solving the key. Number of keys required is less here. If you look at the key, each guy is having two keys. So 3%, 6 keys. If you have 10,000 employees, you only need 20,000 encryption keys. The keys drastically reduced. The symmetric is, for 10,000 employees, 50 million, but for 10,000 employees with asymmetric, just 20,000. But one catch, asymmetric is slow compared to symmetric, because asymmetric, you are using public key to encrypt, another key to decrypt, which is your private key. So that way, the overall process would be a bit slower, but the key count is, required key count is less. Again, for asymmetric, the formula is number of keys equal n into 2, n is number of persons required asymmetric encryption. Now, I would like to explain few things exam standpoint. The full form of RSA. You might have heard RSA algorithm multiple times in your lecture. RSA full form, reversed Shamir Edelman. Maybe they were the guys, invented RSA. AES algorithm, which is Advanced Encryption Standard, that is the full form. The reason I put it, in case you have seen any question, reversed Shamir Edelman, then you don't need to think any other stuff, just it is RSA. They are just pointing RSA algorithm. So asymmetric cryptography is slower, as I said, because it uses public and private key, but it solves problem of creating large organization. The number of keys are less, right? The another key thing you like to remember, symmetric encryption, which uses same key, sender and receiver uses same key. The example is AES, Advanced Encryption Standard. The algorithm, example algorithm is. For asymmetric, you can use RSA, DSA, ECC, Diffie-Hellman. So these are the asymmetric algorithm. So asymmetric algorithm, primarily you keep it, AES is for symmetric, RSA is for asymmetric. You must know at least these algorithms fall under which encryption methodology, asymmetric or symmetric. So if you see any questions about advanced encryption standard is symmetric or asymmetric, then you can figure out this table, it is symmetric. If you take RSA, the last line, RSA is an algorithm that is fall under asymmetric. So if there is a question about reversed Shamir Edelman is symmetric or asymmetric, you must select asymmetric. That's the reason behind adding this table and the example. So exam standpoint, you must know which all are the encryption algorithms or fall under symmetric and asymmetric. Now come to, so we have seen encryption, symmetric, asymmetric encryptions. Now come to the use cases or uses where this can be used. The broadly encryption used in two places, data at rest, data at transit. What is the data at rest? Data at rest is where your data stored somewhere. For example, you have recorded something or you have mobile phone, the data stored on your mobile phone, right? You are not sending anyone, that is just stored on your mobile phone, right? When they, when you store anything on your mobile phone, hard drive, USB stick, any storage medium, if you are storing the data is sitting at rest. The data is not processed or data is not actively transmitted. The data saved for some purpose. Maybe it could be your hard disk or your laptop, the data stored. The stored data needs to be encrypted. The reason is if that device gets stolen or if there is a theft incident in your company or your home or your personal belongings, the attacker cannot exfiltrate the data from your hard disk or the respective storage medium. That's where data at rest is an important place where we need to enable encryption. You might have seen many Windows laptop comes with full disk encryption capability so that the entire disk would be encrypted. If someone steal your laptop and replace the hard drive with someone else's machine, they cannot retrieve the data because the full disk encryption will encrypt all the data available on the hard disk. They can only retrieve if they know the keys or the decryption keys. So that's where the data at rest come into picture. Data in transit is something, let's say you are sending a picture to your friend or someone. Now, the way how you will send the picture, maybe through WhatsApp or Facebook, or you can send an email, attach that photos, right? Or you can use Bluetooth or Wi-Fi to transfer the data from one device to another device. When doing this, there is a medium. It could be Wi-Fi, it could be wired or wireless. If some attacker take that signals and decrypt, then they can get the picture, right? So that's where data in transit to be protected. From source device, I use maybe asymmetric encryption. I send my public key to the recipient. I encrypt the data, then send the data to the recipient. Recipient use their private key to decrypt. So that's where data in transit come into picture. Most of the time data in transit, the simple example is go to any website, you see the lock icon on the address bar in the browser. That indicates your browser and the destination web server communicate in a encrypted form, which uses TLS or SSL, right? That is where data in transit encrypted. If anyone takes Wireshark or a TCP dump in the wire, they cannot retrieve any data. So data in transit is basically using HTTPS protocol. Depends on the application. It's always not HTTPS protocol is data in transit. When you are talking over WhatsApp live call, WhatsApp uses end-to-end encryption to encrypt your voice so that if government or any agency trying to break your call and see what you are talking to other opponent, that cannot be done. So it's an encrypted channel. So data in transit plays major role in confidentiality. For example, when government talks to other government or companies internal communications, like how manager or CEO or each and every employee talks each other in a collaboration tool like Teams or Zoom or any calls, those communications are encrypted so that if any attacker try to listen those conversations, that cannot be done by taking the capture or network traffic. So now come to hash function. Hash is a one-way encryption. What does that mean, one-way encryption? I give some input in plain text that give one output in a fixed length or it is an encrypted format. I cannot reverse. I cannot reverse, which means the hashed value cannot be reversed to get the original value. Maybe I will give you some example. You all take the chat, go to chat and respond to my question. Would you think Gmail or Google employees can read your passwords? I mean the Google or Gmail passwords, yes or no? You just type yes or no. If I am a Google employee, am I able to read your Gmail user ID or sorry, password primarily? You just message yes or no if you think if a Google employee working on that Gmail project would be able to read the password or not. All right. Have seen a couple of no's, yeah. So the reason behind that is hashing. How they store the passwords? They do one-way encryption. Let's say my password is test at 123. Test at 123, send it to hashing. That will be changed to, let's say, XYZ, ABC, some hashed value that gives the output. But none of them can reverse back that hashed value back to the test at 123. So the Google employee can see the hashed value, but they cannot reverse back to test at 123 anyway. That's where the hashing algorithm is powerful. If someone do the reverse, then the hashing algorithm is lost their integrity and it's no longer secure. That's what happened for DES 3 and 4. You know, while ago it was secure hashing algorithm DES 4, 5, but now that is no longer secure. So we'll cover that in detail. But this is one example. Hashing, when you sanitize any value to secure value, they do hashing because you type test at 123, that is converted into hashing, and the hashed value gets stored in their database. Now when you type password test at 123, the hashed value get validated against the stored value. So if any attacker somehow entered the respective password database, they only see hashed value, they cannot see the actual password, they cannot reverse, they cannot do reverse lookup the hashed value to the password. So that's one example. The another example, let's say I send you a MP4 video file, maybe 1 minute video file to you. I send you maybe 1 MB file, you received 1.1 MB, the 0.1 MB added in the transit. Now it could be there is a tampering or the file got modified in the transit or someone injected something else in the video file. You have received 0.1 MB extra, 1.1 MB. Now how to validate what I sent is correct and what you have received is the same file? They use hashing again. I do hashing of the 1 MB file, I get the length of the hashed value. Let's say hashed value is XYZ. I will ask you to do the same hashing using same algorithm. You will do that 1.1 MB file and you expect the hashed value is XYZ, but since the 0.1 MB added, you will not get XYZ because the file is different, somehow modified. So to validate data integrity, the hashing is used in file transfers. Primarily, this is a hidden concept in most of the file transfer, secure transfer communication. For example, when you upload some file to Google Drive, the file present in your local PC and Google Drive both are same. You can validate using simple hashing. This is being used when you set up a website with some file downloads. You can put a hash value in the next column against the file download so that the people would aware the file you are downloading or uploading, the same hash value they should get so that the file is not compromised or someone modified. So to fix that supply chain problem, hashing is a good way to prevent. So in simple term, let's say I send you a letter with single page. The same single page is received or not, how should I validate? Let's say someone added another page in the letter, something they have written similar with a similar handwriting. But for me, I send one single page, but you have received 2 pages. How to validate that integrity someone modified in between, right? So using hashing, maybe in the letter I put page, I have only 1 paper. I send the letter to you. Now you have received the letter, but you have seen two paper, right? But I have written, I must have sent only one letter. So this is where the hashing plays a role. Hashing will give you the one-way encrypted value that can be used from source and receiver side to validate the data integrity. So now MD4, MD5 no longer secure. The reason I am repeating this, you may expect exam standpoint, if there is a question about select highly secure hashing algorithm ABC, AB, MD4, MD5, you should know MD4 and MD5 no longer secure. Then SHA is the secure one, SHA-2 onwards secure, SHA-256, SHA probably 526. So we have list of SHA protocols. The secure hash algorithm is the secure hashing algorithm. You can use it in hashing. That's the algorithm you might have seen in many of the applications. So now you just focus on the hash column. You see it is recommended key size length is 256 bit, and you see SHA-224, SHA-256, SHA-384 and SHA-512. These are the hashing algorithms can be used in hashing. There are three primary use cases for hashing: the password verification, the one I explained with the database example. Second, the hashing used in file transfers. Third one, hashing is used in digital signatures or digital certificate verification. The digital certificate what you are using during TLS inspection or SSL encryption, the hashing would be used to validate the certificate authenticity. So learn about symmetric, asymmetric and hashing algorithms. That's important topic. We may expect at least 25-30% of the questions from these topics. So when hash function will fail, for example, as I said, if someone able to reverse, let's say I put 1 MB file, I got the hash value XYZ. If someone put XYZ into that 1 MB file in a reverse, able to get that, then hashing is failed, because hashing is a one-way encryption. No one can do reverse. No one can come back from that XYZ value to that 1 MB file. That is where hashing would fail. That's one way. The other way, the non-collision resistant, that means that it doesn't achieve the unique output. So whenever I send any file, I get that hashed value. For example, I send 1 MB file, I get XYZ, right? When I send 1.1 MB, if I get same XYZ as a value, then hashing is failing, because hashing should be unique for each different input. So when I send 1 MB file, I get XYZ. When I send 1.1 MB file or a different input, I should get XYZ or something else, ABC or something else. So if someone able to do reverse, hashing is failing. If someone able to get two input, same output as a single hashing, then also hashing fails. This is called collision resistant. You may expect this term. What is collision resistant? Collision resistant is something if two different inputs getting same hashed value. That never ever happen. If that happens, then hashing is failing. That algorithm is so weak. All right, now quiz time. You are concerned that users traveling with laptops will have those devices stolen while in transit. Which encryption technology would best protect the data stored on those laptops? So take this question and give your response over chat. Guys, I think I made you all sleep. All right, so here the question is talking about laptop. The laptop has a hard drive, that is a storage medium. Now this storage medium might have hard disk, right? The hard disk is basically fall under data at rest area. So in data at rest, how we can prevent? We can't use HTTPS. HTTPS is for browser. HTTP is a plain text. VPN is for network, the entire network protection. So FD stands for full disk encryption, right? So option D is the right answer. All right, next topic, data lifecycle. I think this topic doesn't require much explanation. We are living with the data lifecycle every day. You take a mobile phone and clicking a picture. What you are doing is you are creating a data. You have created data, like the picture. You took the camera and captured that moment in JPEG or PNG or the respective image file. The data stored in your gallery, the data is now successfully stored. Then you are using that photo in your WhatsApp or keeping that photo as your DP or using Canva to edit, or you are posting that data in Instagram. You are using that data. Now the same photo you are sharing with your sister, brother or mother or friends, now you are sharing that data to someone else. Now let's say your storage is full. Android is saying your storage is full, go and clean something. Now you go and scroll and gallery and archiving some files which you don't need, or you go and figure out whatever photo not clear, you are marking and deleting. That's what you are archiving. Now destroy, you just deleted the photo, but using some applications like recovery software, someone can recover the photo. So you have not yet destroyed, you just deleted the photo, which the memory still has the traceable data that can be recovered using recovery software. So next, how to destroy? You need to burn the phone or crush the phone to completely destroy the data, right? This is the common data lifecycle. I just used mobile as an analogy here. Let's switch to the companies, enterprises. You joined as an employee in the company. Now company provided you offer letter in soft copy, the joining letter. Company created the data, which is joining letter. Now the data stored in your mailbox because they sent to you. It is in your mailbox. Also company may keep a copy in their hard disk. Now you are printing out the data. You are using the data for signing or whatever purpose. You are using that offer letter. Now you are sharing that offer letter with your personal G drive or keeping a copy, soft copy, just to for a secure purpose. I received an offer letter from the company. You are sharing with yourself. Now you already gone 3-4 years experience. Now you left that company. The redundant offer letter storing in your Google Drive, that's no longer useful. No one will ask you what was your previous company offer letter. Only they ask experience letter, right? So now you need to delete that offer letter, delete it. Same way, employer side. Let's say they want to maintain last 10 years or after 15 years ago, the employee who joined and left the company data in their hard drive. They might have some time period. After that time period, they delete the hard drive and keep the storage empty. So they might have delete. Then destroy. To destroy electronic storage medium, there are methods. We'll cover that in detail. That's how enterprises will destroy. Enterprise will not just go and delete the files. They do different things so that if there is a theft or if someone intruded into the company's hard disk and use some recovery software to recover the data, that would be a big data breach. They may get all the employee records of the past employees, their compensation details from the offer letter, right? So that would be a big risk. So companies use different process to destroy. Just keep this image in mind. When data get created, these are the stages data travel through. It won't be necessary or mandatory to follow all this stage. I may take a phone and take a picture, immediately I can delete. So created, archive can happen straight, right? So that's where I like to tell the data lifecycle never ever be follow all the process. It may skip some process or some flow. For example, it may come from create to destroy directly, or create and share, done. I take a picture, I just shared with my friend, now I deleted. It didn't come to the use or archive. I just used only two flow in this data lifecycle. So it never be create, store and use flow followed, but this is the common flow if the data is purposefully created, and this is how generally follow, but always we can see some exceptions. It may skip some stages. So now I come to the electronic records, how the soft copy stored in the companies are maintained or deleted. First one is clearing. Clearing is nothing, just basic sanitization technique. Writing new data to the device that overwrites the sensitive data. Clearing is effective against most type of casual analysis. So what is clearing means? We are overwriting the data. For example, there is an offer letter. We have deleted the offer letter, but still the traces are there. Still can be, the recovery softwares can be used to recover. But using clearing, we are, let's say, on the top of the offer letter memory, we are writing something else. So if someone use recovery software, they won't get anything, or they get incorrect data. So that is called clearing. Clearing is effective against most type of casual analysis. The casual analysis here may be using recovery software or using some sort of disk analysis to guess what data was stored in past. So those can be mitigated. Next is purging. Purging is similar to cleaning but uses more advanced technique and takes longer. Purging might use cryptography function to obscure media on disk. So purging, let's say same example, there is an offer letter stored on the hard drive. That offer letter deleted and the traces are encrypted. Now no one can decrypt and see what was the file exist in that traces. So recovery software would fail. That is called purging. Purging also includes uses of degaussing technique using electromagnetic field that may destroy the hard disk as well sometimes, because using highly effective magnetic interfaces will erase the data on the hard drive if it is made up of steel or magnetic interference devices. That's called purging. Now destroying is the final type of data sanitization. For example, let's say there is a bank that got bankrupt. Now after 3 years, the bank equipments all must be destroyed. They will not go with the clearing and purging, because clearing and purging, the hard disk may be reused, but now the requirement is the bank shut down, bankrupted, no longer functioning, almost 3 years gone. Now the bank management decided to destroy all the data, include bank account details or customer list, everything to be deleted. They destroy the hard disk in a shredder. They would break the hard disk, or they use chemicals to destroy the physical hard disk so that no one can use the hard disk. That way, impossible to someone to reconstruct it. This only happens very highly sensitive environment like financial sector, or if there is a hard disk got failed, let's say the part of the hard disk is failed and they replaced the hard disk and restore the backup, the broken hard disk would be destroyed completely. So that way no one can get the traces and reconstruct. It is impossible. So destroying is the one of the strongest destroying mechanism for electronic records. So now come to the paper. Let's say the bank is keep printing papers, everyday customer informations, or your employer is keep printing offer letters or sensitive data on the physical paper, right? If it is a small amount, they use a machine called a shredding machine that will make bit and pieces of the paper, and you can't reconstruct it. It is a device, they just insert the paper that will be scrambled. Now pulping is for large amount. Let's say you have maybe 10 kilos, 15 kilos of papers. Then they use pulping with put it on the chemical and use that pulping method to destroy the records. The final one is incineration, but it requires burns. They fire that paper in a safe zone so that the papers will turns to ash, right? So it is not recommended because less environment friendly, as well as this may have the other environment, like they need that location or specific arrangement to do that. So that is called incineration. So these three methods destroying the physical data. You may ask one question, why company need to destroy the data? Because you are deleting some information which is no longer needed. Once you delete it, we need to maintain that confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality is here. If some unauthorized person access the data, that would be danger, right? Let's say they dumped all the papers into, let's say, government waste bin or outside. Some attacker somehow get that paper that has password or some sensitive information, that become a challenge, right? So that breaks the confidentiality and it helps attacker to intrude into the company system. So that's why they delete electronic records as well as physical paper. So hope these concepts are clear. You may expect questions from shredding or pulping or incineration. These words might be first time you may hear. So make sure you just understand the meaning, what is shredding and pulping and incineration. Next, data classification. Data classification plays a major role in data governance. Let's say I give you 3 files without any labeling. You will treat all 3 files with the same equal amount of accountability or responsibility, right? But let's say I give you 3 labeling. One file is put as secret, another one is top secret, another one is public. You will secure maybe secret and top secret both a file. The public one you won't care much because it is classified as public. Same way in enterprises, we may need to data classify. We need to classify the data based on the data sensitivity. So we have 2 set of data classification. One is military standard, which is used in only military, but some of the companies may adopt this as a method to classify the data. So they classify top secret, the highly sensitive data that only visible to some people, maybe CEO, CFO, the high director people. Maybe the secret, maybe managerial level people may know the secret data. Confidential data, maybe one-on-one data, or maybe it could be payslip or offer letter. Those all are confidential data that cannot be shared anywhere. Unclassified data can be shared to anyone. It could be public notice or instruction to install your Windows operating system. Those general data fall under unclassified data, so anyone can read that data. So they apply this classification and they add the label in the Microsoft Word or in electronic documents like PDF with the bottom watermark, so that the data appropriately handled. That helps company to secure the necessary data. Also, as an administrator, they put a rule: only confidential data or top secret data cannot be shared. The other data can be shared among each other by writing access control policy using tags. So they put a tags. Anyone can attach unclassified data in Outlook. If someone attach top secret data, that attachment may be dropped in the email itself. So that's how they construct the policy in the organization. We no need to go deep dive into this. You just know what are the data classification. This is called military standard, which is called mostly in government related agencies or military related companies. They use this classification: top secret, secret, confidential, unclassified. So when government to government they talk, right? They talk, this is top secret information, so other nations shouldn't aware of. Let's say India is talking to America. India may classify their data as secret or top secret. Then the respective person on the US side only can receive the data. That's how they secure. If India classify the data as unclassified, other nations like maybe Japan or other countries can read the data because the data is unclassified. Anywhere they can access. Now come to the business side, how they classify: public, internal, sensitive, highly sensitive. This is for public side. The reason I put these two slides, you may expect question from these two slides. If you see the words about secret, top secret, or confidential, unclassified, that is military standard. The business side standard, public, anyone can read the data. Internal, that is only that company data. Maybe, for example, in colleges, they send internal circulars, right? Only that applicable to that particular college. If that information should go to outside, that is meaningless, or it shouldn't go to outside, right? That is internal data. Same way in companies, they prepare, let's say a company prepared some internal document which talks about how to use ChatGPT for respective company, then that is classified as internal data because that only applicable to that company, not for your personal ChatGPT or outside. So that's how internal data formalized. If they put sensitive, maybe that data might have some highly confidential information. If that data get leaked, maybe company run into trouble. Then they put sensitive. Highly sensitive, if the data gets shared outside, the company may in trouble, or it may invite some problems from the governing body or respective governing government agencies. So they put highly sensitive labeling. So you can equally map top secret with highly sensitive, secret with sensitive, confidential with the internal, and unclassified with the public. So the military standard and business standard. Now come to labeling. Once the data classified, the classifications to be labeled in the WordPad or PDF or whatever document they are making, that label to be added. Microsoft introduced the labeling feature. You can just go to Google and search what is Microsoft MIB labeling feature. You can see video about that, how to create labeling. So, but before labeling, we need to classify the data, then only we can labeling, so that the labeling will be used in the data sharing access control policy to define, how to label, and based on the label, the file's movement can happen. So company may stop if any file comes with high sensitive label. Now time to start chat with quiz. So you are a security officer at a corporation that has a strict data retention policy. One of the company servers reached its end of life and is being decommissioned. Which of the following action is most secure method to ensure the sensitive data on the server's hard drives are completely destroyed if you would like to potentially reuse the drives? There are hints in this question. You just reread the question and figure out which one could be the right answer. All right, so I'm trying to figure out the hints. Security officer at a corporation that has strict data retention policy. The first line is talking about strict retention policy, means they are trying to keep the data retention. One of the company server reached its end of life and is being decommissioned. which of the following action is most secure method to ensure that sensitive data on the servers hard drives completely destroyed if you would like to potentially reuse the drives? The last line is the twist. They would like to potentially reuse the drives. So first to answer, overwriting the data, formatting the drives, just delete the data, but we can retrieve. Degaussing may damage the hard drive. Physically destroying, they cannot reuse, potentially cannot reuse. But just eliminating the D, because physically destroying device is not an answer, because they would like to reuse the drives. Right, so degaussing may damage the hard disk, formatting is not secure. Overwriting the data would be the best answer among 4. So the answer would be A. All right, now come to the next section, logging and monitoring. Logging is one of the key control companies would implement. So before go to logging, probably let's take 5 minutes short break, then we'll connect. All right, everyone, I'm back. So let's continue. So logging and monitoring plays a key role in accountability, traceability, and auditability for protection. So how this works, I will again go with a simple example. Let's say there is a malware, there is a user somehow infected with the malware. That malware exploited user device and found some credential for SQL database. Now that malware infected SQL database and the entire database got encrypted. So just a simple example, user downloaded a file that has malware. That malware somehow spread it towards SQL database and encrypted. So here the user has one device, SQL database is another device. In between, router, switches, proxies, firewalls might be there. These all devices may generate some sort of events. These events connected together to draw the full picture. What is that malware? When that malware entered? But by the way, what is that malware? What is the nature of that malware? These all done only when we collect logs from each and every component. In enterprise, we collect data from all the components. For example, the traffic comes from router or firewall, that generates logs. The user device generates logs whenever there is an installer installed or whatever happens on the operating system creates an event. Then when it comes to SQL database creates each and every transaction or events in the logs. Now when we send all the logs together using some centralized correlation engine, we can figure out, is that WannaCry or is that what type of malware, what is the C2C or the attacker IP address. These all put into one picture and we can figure out about that security incident. So why we need that? For accountability. So how to identify the specific user device infected, which computer is infected, or which location that malware is come from. Then trace that malware, like from when the malware reached the user device, what are the devices locally connected from that user device. Then for clear documentation, you need the historical timestamp, right? So that's where logging come into picture. In logging, this is just an example. Logging integrated with security information and event management, which is called SIM. The wider known SIMs are Splunk. There are many other vendors offering cloud-based SIM solution. like Databricks, some other companies, many vendors exist in the market. But only common thing is they collect logs from all the devices directly or indirectly. Directly, the device itself sends the logs. Indirectly, they put a log collector component in that device, and that log collector component aggregate the logs and send to the SIM solution. SIM solution may use artificial intelligence or machine learning to match and correlate the logs. So once these logs are correlated, it triggers alerts to the security operations center. Then security operations center picks the incident and investigate. Then they form the report, or they go for threat hunting when that incident happens, how that happens. For this exam perspective, you must know what is SIM, Security Information and Event Management. Basically, it collects all the logs, correlates, and trigger alerts to Security Operations Center. That's the primary objective or primary function of the SIM solution. This pictorial representation, just for your understanding, it may vary, depends on the company and components they are using. For example, if company doesn't have AWS, they only have Azure, only they collect the logs from Azure. Let's say if they don't have servers, they collect only whatever component or devices they are using. But if you come to home, right, our personal security is not given that important, so you can't see anything in house or home. But this setup, only you can see it in the companies. So only the companies who are securing their infrastructure, they must use SIM solution. There are countries, SIM is one of the mandatory control they need to enforce. Also, there are business without SIM, they cannot run the business. So SIM is one of the key pillar that fall under logging and monitoring. So now come to the quiz. You have just been assigned to improve the existing log management system in your organization. Which solution would best aid in centralizing, protecting, and analyzing your log entries? So figure out the answer. It's so easy. All right, straightforward question and straightforward answer. We didn't talk about DBMS, NIDS, IAM. We only talked about SIEM. So SIEM is the answer. But if you look at the question, centralizing, protecting, analyzing your organization log entries, right? Centralizing, you may have business in India, America, or Europe. All location logs can be centralized, come to Splunk or whatever SIM solution. Then protecting, you can connect multiple dots together to draw the full big picture, how the malware or ransomware, what is happening, when the malware entered, how many internal devices, multiple devices are infected. Those informations you can draw full picture using all the logs, but you need that correlation engine, which is called a SIM solution here. Now come to configuration management. So configuration management tracks operating system as well as the software installed. So when it comes to operating system might have multiple versions. Let's say Windows 7, Windows 10, or if you go to Mac or Apple, respective versions are applicable, right? That one side, operating system configurations. So you need to harden the operating system as per your company requirement. You may need to disable some of the capabilities which you don't like to use or you think vulnerable. Then you need to maintain the inventory of the softwares. Let's say I'm using Microsoft O365, then maybe another application for video editing. Maybe HR may use CRM tools or any other HR related softwares. So as an administrator, we need to maintain the inventory. These inventory nowadays are very simplified. There would be some piece of software installed on the laptop that will send the inventory details to the administrator, list of softwares running on your company. The other side, administrator maintain what are the softwares they have purchased, what are the softwares running on the device. If there is a mismatch, they investigate why that specific user installed another additional software and how that installed. So maintaining inventory is important. That's where configuration management come into picture. We need to maintain software inventory and operating system inventory. Then come to baseline. Baseline used to access whether a system has changed outside of an approved change management process. So what is that? So baseline, let's say you have hardened your operating system, you have disabled 3-4 features as per your company standard or policy. Now you have that baseline. Now you have rolled out, let's say 1,000 employees with the baseline enabled operating system. Now all the users are having baseline enabled operating system where that 3-4 features hardened or disabled. If anyone override that feature and enable, that is violating your baseline policy, right? So you can monitor and identify if someone violates that policy. That's where baseline is needed. Baseline is a kind of a timestamp or a set of settings that you take that as a starting point. On top, you can build your configurations or customization, but baseline always constant. Let's say some security incident happened, I need to go back to that baseline. You can restore that system to that specific timestamp so that the baseline policies are enforced. Whatever overridden or changed policies can be rolled back. So in layman term, let's say you go to a shop and bought a new laptop. What would you do? The laptop may come with the default user ID, password, and default settings. Then you need to customize the settings as per your requirement, right? Then you start from there. That customization first time you are doing, right, that is called baseline. You are making that system for your work. Now that is the baseline. On top, you are installing software, you are adding more customization. That is your own interest, but the baseline is once from the default delivery from the OEM, the vendor, you are creating one baseline to build on top of the requirement. Then version control applicable for your code development or software development. Even as we have more students in this community, so if you do any development project, you should learn about versioning, how to version control the code or the project. Whenever you push it to Git or GitHub or GitLab, then you need to maintain that version so that you can understand between version n-1 and n, what was the difference, what are the bugs or what are the changes you have made. So clear version control to be maintained in the organization. As a security administrator, you should know what is version control, how developers are maintaining. If there is a software installed, what is the version recently installed or updated. Those informations we should aware of. As a cybersecurity professional, we should know how version control works. There are major version or minor version. For example, iOS 16, iOS 17, but in between iOS 16.1, iOS 16.2, like minor releases are there. These are called minor release or patches. Those all minor releases will not make big change, but when you upgrade from 16 to 17, that would be a major version change. Maybe hardware compatibility you need to check. You need to check what other new features are introduced. My hardware is compatible. Those standpoint we need to validate. Similarly, it goes to router, switches, for firewall or proxies. As a security administrator, let's say you are maintaining a firewall. The firewall vendor released a minor release, which is patching some vulnerability or some of the new capabilities are enhanced. Then you can apply that patch to get that feature. But when it comes to major release, let's say version 8 to 9, it could be major release. your firewall hardware compatibility or the CPU hardware or any computation power additional capability mentioned on that release notes, that we need to focus, and once hardware get compatible with that new release, then only you can upgrade the software. So that's where version control is important. But as a configuration management, we need to maintain version for configuration as well. Let's say today you are implementing a firewall policy, you can call it as version 1. Tomorrow you are updating the same policy with some minor change, version 1.1. Let's say a day after you have completely changing the configuration, maybe you can call it as version 2. So that's how the change implementation come into versioning control. Also, I would like to talk about rollback. When you write a plan for implementation, change implementation, same way if there is a outage or if there is a problem due to the change you have made, how to roll back and get back to the system to the previous state, the working state. So you need to clear rollback plan to be documented in configuration management. So next, configuration vulnerabilities. The same analogy, you bought a laptop, the laptop comes with default user ID or password or default configurations that may be vulnerable. So default configurations we shouldn't use. This could be router switches or firewall proxies, the default configuration to be reviewed and baseline to be formed. Next, weak security settings. Let's say we have seen the previous lesson Wi-Fi secure protocol, right? If the low secure or no secure protocol being selected in the Wi-Fi configuration, then that is vulnerable. Then cryptographic weakness. In today's session itself, we have seen MD4 are weak algorithm that shouldn't be used in hashing. So weak algorithm shouldn't be used in any of the security configuration where you are configuring TLS or SSL. So next, patch and update management. In patch, there are situations where the vendors release security patch, maybe Microsoft or servers or router switches patches may comes with vulnerability or CVE fixes with high priority. That needs to be deployed within that time frame so that you are mitigating those threats for those devices as per their vendor suggestion, because vendor only releasing the patch. In this case, vendor would be Microsoft or the router or switch provider like Cisco or Palo Alto. Those vendors can release the patch. Now, account management. We have seen that least privilege, least privilege. The minimum permission should be given to the user to do their task. If there is a misconfiguration in the user's rights permission, then user may get over permission or unnecessary permission that may leads to configuration vulnerabilities. These all fall under configuration vulnerabilities because account management can be misconfigured that given excess access to that particular user. So if you expect any question from these topics, so make sure you understand each topic widely, why this is important. You may expect scenario-based questions from this topic. So next, we'll move on to policy. So the policy, first policy is acceptable use policy. For an example, there is an employee joined in an organization. Now, employee given mobile phone, the company providing mobile phone with the acceptable use policy. The policy states that the user shouldn't install any social media platform on their company issued mobile device. This is one type of policy just for an example, but in more cases, let's say whatever data you have accessed on the mobile device subject to monitoring and storing, because company may monitor that mobile device and store the data. So acceptable use policy should be framed for the company, and that policy needs to be implemented on all the respective assets that include mobile, laptop, or whatever device user is accessing. The acceptable policy should be visible to the user, so that user must understand what they can do, what they shouldn't do on that, particular devices or equipments they are interacting with. Then data handling policy. Let's say the same analogy, company given mobile phone, but in the data handling policy they put a class, whatever photos or gallery you are using or the data stored in the gallery, that is subject to inspection and data loss prevention policy. Maybe they can control your photos or whatever there in the gallery. So data handling policy, according to the company requirement, they should frame respective data handling policy that must be documented under policy. Next one is bring your own device policy. Now there are companies, they are relaxing the policy, like you can bring your own tablet or mobile phone to access corporate Outlook or corporate applications. So they document bring your own device policy and state that some policies according to the company requirement. Whatever you access from the bring your own device may not be subject to company's data because that is your own device. You have full admin rights. You can install, delete, or whatever you can do because you are the owner for the device. But considering you are in the office premises and you are accessing company data using your personal device, you shouldn't store that data on your device. You can access, but you cannot download, or you can access, you cannot copy some data to your personal applications. Those policies are framed and that is called bring your own device policy. So this policy widely cover mobile phone, tablet, personal laptop, or smart devices such as, if any device connecting office Wi-Fi or office network, then those devices will fall under bring your own device policy. So as we have seen in the first lesson, password policy, right? So the password policy, how the passwords are defined, or the length, complexity, expiration, rotation. There are companies moved to passwordless, like they give FIDO2 or multi-factor authentication tokens. So you no need to remember any password. You need to plug the card or you need to plug the USB key to authenticate. Those all defined in password policy. So now the change management policy. Change management policy, they define in enterprises, you cannot go and implement any changes as per your convenience. Like let's say today I want to shut down the router, you can't do because it's a production environment. If you go and shut the router or unplug the cable, that may interrupt the business. So the change management process, probably it may come from ITIL or specific standard they follow. The change must be raised 1 week before. The change must go to multiple process like change approver, change implementer, or the guy who is reviewing it. It go like that. Like let's say you are like to make some changes on the router. Let's say you like to turn on RSA algorithm on the router. You will write a change plan. I would like to enable RSA for high security. The vendor released RSA capability on the router. Now that is the change you like to implement. That will go to change approval process. The approval process may be the change must be filed a week before. So 7 days before you need to file the change. That change go to multiple level of approvals, then you get the approval, then you can plan the change implementation window when that change going to be implemented. Post the change, you need to take the necessary evidences like no outage, the change implemented successfully, then you can close the change. In case, worst case, if after making change, router went down and didn't come back, then you need rollback plan. Is that backup router available, or vendor supporting any live support to bring back the device? These are the things fall under change management policy. If you take enterprise, we have very strict change management policy, depends on the sector. But if you take home, right, would you think you follow this change implement policy? Maybe take the chat and type yes or no. Let's say you like to restart your router. Would you go and wait for 7 days and restart the router? Guys, hope I'm not making you guys, tired or boring. The question is to implement a restart on your home router or Wi-Fi, would you implement a change process? Yes or no? Yeah, because absolutely, because we can't wait 1 week. Also, the home router, there is no business impact. I can wait for 15 minutes. I can use mobile data. Nothing going to break anything financially. But imagine if there is a internet banking web server. Let's say take one India's biggest bank. They have serving the bank application. That bank web server has redundant internet service provider connection. Would you think they can restart the router without any change process? Definitely no, because they need to follow respective approvals. Sometimes they need to do pre-prod implementation. The change must be tested on the non-production environment. They collect the outcome, gain the confidence, then they implement the change on the production. So that's where change management policy is important. So as for certified and cybersecurity exam perspective, you no need to go deeper. You just need to understand each policy, what it does. That is more than enough. So next, security awareness training. So before go to training, we need to talk about, let's talk about the social engineering, then we'll talk about the training, because social engineering happens first. Training may help to mitigate that social engineering attacks. So social engineering is something, generally some external attacker trying to influence or trying to apply some, influence to gather information or do some favor behalf of the hacker to that employee to achieve something. Maybe that could be bad most of the time. For an example, an attacker calling that bank employee and mimicking as his manager and asking him to reset his password. The bank employee thinks that he is his manager and trying to reset the password and give that information to the attacker take over the account. This is just one simple example. Many examples you will find with just social engineering, but this will be classified under these 6 categories. Authority and trust. The authority and trust is the same example. The attacker poses a higher authority like a manager, CEO, or external governing body, and calling that victim and get that influence to do the task so that gain the access. Intimidation, like mimicking like someone else and do that favor work so that they can gain the access or they do that gather the data. The social proof is something everyone is doing. I'm also going to do the same thing. For example, during if you have watched in US shops getting looted, every public citizen to go and loot the shops and take the things and run away, right? Similarly, if there is an attack that brings multiple people to gain some access and take the data, run away, then that is fall under social proof. So everyone thinks that that act is good and they won't feel bad about that. For example, there is an open access, everyone come and take the data from your Google Drive, you open to everyone. They won't even feel that is an attack. They just found the data is available and go and collect it. Then scarcity, they make a demand and they won't give time to think because they created demand. Let's say the attacker posts like a power grid or the company you are getting power from, your data center. The guy posting like a power grid manager and talking, hey, we have only next to 2 hours UPS or a backup power. We need to extend that power backup. Maybe send me this much contract amount or sign the contract or send me amount through this account. They just influence and create scarcity and create the demand, the employee thinks that, oh, there is a demand, or if I couldn't act within 2 hours, the power may go down, my business will impact, I need to do something. So they create scarcity and they force employees to not think about that scenario, and they get the outcome, like whatever money or whatever data they like to harvest, they harvest. Then urgency. Urgency, very simple example. Most of the things are fall under phishing email. They create urgency. Your PAN card is not active. You need to activate. Click the link. Or your employment contract is expired. Click the link to renew. So these are creating urgency. So users won't even think, and they click the link, and boom, maybe the link may download the malware or XYZ pattern may behind, but urgency is one of the category. Then familiarity and liking. So the familiarity, most of the time, something you are very familiar with, so you won't double check. So let's say you trust some vendor, you are constantly getting their service and paying. Suddenly that vendor changed the payment link or slight modification on the website, you won't even realize. You thought, hey, I'm getting every month that service, I'm paying for them. You go and pay, but you are paying to victim, you are paying to attacker, or you are sending the data to attacker. That's how the familiarity and liking is fooling the employees. These all fall under social engineering attacks. You may expect some scenario-based questions from social engineering. Now come to how social engineering can be mitigated in enterprises. But honestly, this topic is, you may focus on this topic. This may help in your personal life as well, because we all fall under social engineering trap in our personal life as well. This is not only for enterprise or corporate or business. Even individual personal life, you might have encountered phishing email. If you go to your Gmail and junk folder, you will see thousands of email like that. This is already happening around us. So only the training is the only way. If you have seen any email on your junk mail stating that, hey, you have received 1 million rupees, we need some clearance amount, you contact this number or reply me. Those are the scams, happening, right? So only the awareness will help you from this situation. So security awareness training is the one explaining the impact of clicking the link, or they put you in an urgent situation or scarcity, how to react. These all, once you prepared in advance, then only you can tackle and mitigate those threats. This will fall under two categories: security training and awareness. Security awareness is nothing, just creating campaign or short videos, broadcast everything to all the employees. They see everywhere. For example, your employee entering and the wall full of phishing related emails or whatever campaign poster, then that create awareness. We are making awareness through whatever medium available across the company. It could be email, signature, or whatever handout they give some books or whatever goodies kind of things to create awareness. Security training is proper education piece, like it's a time-bound education. Let's say mandatory 1 hour security training, all the employees must complete. That training may be video, maybe with some multiple choice questions or some mimicked phishing emails to evaluate users understanding. These all fall under security training. That would be proper training. It may delivered through LMS platform or a video, or even sometime classroom training for the critical employees. So security training would mitigate the social engineering kind of threats from the companies. Security awareness will create awareness by using videos, posters and email messages. All right, so with that I conclude today's session. For those who those who's shown up in last 6 weekends, kudos to you guys. learning demands discipline. So you just shown up here and you learn something, outside your college, and I understand all our students, most of them are students, and they put extra effort to learn cybersecurity with me. First, you guys shown up here and you just start learning. But I have given you clear picture. After training, you need to go for Certified in Cybersecurity exam. You need to complete the multiple choice questions and ISC2, the free training modules in their portal. So once you complete, you need to validate and evaluate your skills, because you can't just learn and go and take the exam. So that would be disaster. You take as much as questions, multiple choice questions. So within next 2 weeks, I will try to put more questions on the engine. The quiz.learncybersec.in will add more questions, so that you will get familiar. Also, I'm trying to collect all other medium, whatever people put certificate in cybersecurity multiple choice questions, have found a few other sources as well. I will send you collective information over email, so that you can start practicing. Next thing, those who are from the rural, plan your exam in advance, because you can't everyone book on the same day. Let's say 10 guys in the same classroom and go to Chennai or Bangalore to take the exam. You can't book all 10 in the same center on the same timing, because the center may have some limitation, the seats. So you plan accordingly, try to reach that city a day advance, so that you have proper rest and you won't be hurry-burry to identify the location. So figure out the location where the exam center, reach 1 day before, and have a proper rest, because you need to sleep at least 8 hours to get proper rest, so that you would think and apply the skill while responding to the question. These questions are cannot be memorized or cannot be cheated with any dumps or other way. It's very in the integral maintained very strictly. So only you will understand the concepts, then only you can take the scenario based questions and apply the knowledge to eliminate the wrong answers. So those who have completed ISC2 training as well as the 6 weekend training, you can go for multiple choice questions. Then within 2 to 3 weeks, you can schedule the exam and go and take the exam. So pass or fail is not a matter. You have shown up, you put your effort, you learned something. The pass or fail is just the paper. You don't focus on or you don't feel bad if you failed in that exam. The failure or pass is not a matter. So what you have learned here is will take that knowledge with your career. So that needs to be implemented whenever you are joining or protecting yourself or your family. Whatever the social engineering or the encryption, Wi-Fi configuration, these are very basic and general settings, right? So that would help somehow other way. So don't focus on pass or fail. Put your whole effort or full effort to achieve the exam. So once you clear, keep me posted or tag me on LinkedIn. So happy to connect again. So the next batch for the same certification will be starting on 27th September. In case you like to participate, I will send you a registration link again. Probably you may need to enroll again if you like to continue next batch, because next batch would be, I will follow the same pattern every Saturday 7 p.m. and I will try to enhance the training material, because each and every time I'm trying to understand the students' behavior and try to add more real-time examples. I'm trying to invite a few other industry experts to help me to simplify the course so that you will understand. So with that note, thank you very much for joining today. I will share the recordings probably tomorrow. Thank you everyone. Bye-bye.